Charlotte's Web by E.B. White. Chapter 16. Off to the fair. The night before the country fair, everybody went to bed early. Then and ever were in bed by 8. Every lay dreaming that Ferris' wheel had stopped and he was in the top car. Fairy lay dreaming that she was getting sick in the swings. Lovey was in bed by 8:30. He lay dreaming that he was throwing baseballs at a clothed cat and winning a genuine Nevada blanket. Mr. and Mrs. Zuckerman were in bed by 9. Mrs. Zuckerman lay dreaming about a deep freeze unit. Mr. Zuckerman lay dreaming about Wilbur. He dreamed that Wilbur had grown until he was 116 feet long and 92 feet high, and that he had won all prizes at the fair and was covered with blue ribbons and even a blue ribbon tied to the end of his tail. Down in the bun cellar, the animals still went to sleep early, all except Charlotte. Tomorrow would be fair day. Every creature planned to get up early to see Wilbur off to his great adventure. When morning came, everybody got up at daylight. The day was hot. Up the road at the Arabel's house, Farina lugged a pail of hot water to her room and took a sponge bath. Then she put on her prettiest dress because she knew that she would see boys at the fair. Mrs. Arabel scrubbed the back of Avery's neck and wet his hair and parted it and brushed it down hard till it stuck at the top of his head, all but 6 hairs that stood straight up. Avery put on clean underwear, clean blue jeans, and a clean jersey. And Mrs. Arabel dressed, ate breakfast, and then went out and polished his truck. He had offered to drive everybody to the fair, including Wilbur. Bright and early, Lurvy put green straw in Wilbur's crate and lifted it into the pig pen. The crate was green. In gold letters it said, Zuckerman's famous pig. Charlotte had her web-looking friend for the occasion. Wilbur ate his breakfast slowly. He tried to look radiant without getting food in his ears. In the kitchen, Mr. Zuckerman suddenly made an announcement. Homer, she said to her husband, I'm going to give that pig a buttermilk bath. A what? Said Mr. Zuckerman. A buttermilk bath. My grandmother used to bathe her pig with buttermilk. Then it got dirty. I just remembered. Wilbur is not dirty, said Mrs. Zuckerman proudly. He's filthy behind the ears, said Mrs. Zuckerman. Every time Wilbur slops him, the food runs down around the ears. Then it dries and forms a crust. He also has a smudge on the one side when he lays in the manure. He lays in clean straw, corrected Mr. Zuckerman. Well, he's dirty and he's going to have a bath. Mr. Zuckerman sat down weakly and ate a donut. His wife went to the woodshed. When she returned, she wore rubber boots and an old raincoat, and she carried a bucket of buttermilk and a small wooden paddle. Edith, you're crazy, mumbled Zuckerman, but she paid no attention to him. Together they walked to the pig pen. Mrs. Zuckerman wasted no time. She climbed in with Wilbur and went to work. Dripping her paddle in the buttermilk, she scrubbed him all over. The geese gathered around to see the fun, and so did the sheep and lambs. Even Templeton poked his head out cautiously to watch Wilbur get a buttermilk bath. Charlotte got so interested she lowered herself on a drag line so she could see better. Wilbur stood still and closed his eyes. He could feel the buttermilk trickling down his sides. He opened his mouth and some buttermilk ran in. It was delicious. He felt radiant and happy. When Mrs. Zuckerman got through and rubbed him dry, he was the cleanest, prettiest pig you ever saw. He was pure white, pink around the ears and snout, and smooth as silk. The Zuckermans went up to change into the best clothes. Lovey went to shave and put on his plaid shirt and his purple necktie. The animals were left to themselves in the barn. The 7 goslings paraded around her mother. Please, please, please take us to the fair, begged a gosling. And all 7 began teasing to go. Please, 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 please. They made quite a racket. Children, snapped the goose, we're staying quietly at home. Only Wilbur is going to the fair. Just then Charlotte interrupted. I shall go too, she said softly. I have decided to go with Wilbur. He might need me. We can't tell what may happen at the fairgrounds. Somebody's got to go along who knows how to write, and I think Templeton better come too. I might need somebody to run errands and go and do general work. I'm staying right here, grumbled the rat. I haven't the slightest interest in fairs. That's because you've never seen to one, remarked the old sheep. A fair is a rat's paradise. Everybody spills food at fair. A rat can creep out late at night and have a feast. In the horse barn you will find oats that trotters and places have spilt. In the trampled grass of infields you will find all discarded lunch boxes containing the full remains of peanut butter sandwiches, hard-boiled eggs, cracker crumbs, bits of donuts, and particles of cheese. In the hard-packed dirt on the midway, after glaring lights are out and people have gone home to bed, you will find a variable treasure of popcorn fragments, frozen custard drippings, candied apples abandoned by tired children, sugar fluff crystals, salted almonds, popsicles, partially ground ice cream cones, and the wooden sticks of lollipops. Everywhere in a foot full of red, in tents, in booths, in hay lofts. Why, a fat is enough disgusting leftover food to satisfy a whole army of rats. Templeton's eyes were blazing. "Is it true?" he asked. "Is this appetizing yacht of yours true? I like high living, and that what you say tempts me." "It is true," said the old ship. "Go to the fair, Templeton. You will find that the conditions at fair will surprise your wildest dreams. Buckets with straw mesh stick into them, tin cans containing particles of tuna fish, grassy paper bags turned with rotten—" "That's enough!" cried Templeton. "Don't tell me any more. I'm going." "Good," said Charlotte, winking at the old ship. "Now then, there is no time to be lost. Wilbur will soon be put into the crate. Templeton and I must get in the crate right now and hide ourselves." The rat didn't waste a minute. He scampered over to the crate, crawled between these slats, and pulled straw up over him so he was hidden from sight. "All right," said Charlotte. "I'm next." She sailed into the air, let out a drag line, and dropped gently to the ground. Then she climbed the side of the crate and hid herself inside a note hole in the top board. The old chief nodded. "What a cargo," she said. "That's out to say, Tuckerman's famous pick and 2 stowaways." "Look out, the people are going, arming," shouted the gander. "Cheese it, cheese it, cheese it!" The pick truck with Mr. Averill and the wheel back slowly towards the barnyard. Lurvy and Mrs. Tuckerman walking alongside. Fern and Avery were standing in the body of the truck, hanging on to the sidewalks. "Listen to me," whispered the old ship to Wilbur. "When they open the crate and try to put you in, struggle. Don't go without a struggle. Pigs always resist when they are being loaded." "If I struggle, I'll get dirty," said Wilbur. "Never mind that. Do as I say. Struggle. If you were to walk into the crate without resistance, a man might think you were bewitched. He'd scared to go to the fair." Templeton poked his head up through his straw. "Struggle if you must," said he. "But kindly remember that I'm hiding out there in this crate and I don't want to be stabbed on, or kicked in the face, or pummeled, or crushed in any way, or squashed, or buffeted about, or bruised, or lacerated, or scared, or biffed. Just where you going, Mr. Rayton? Then they get shoving you in." "Be quiet, Templeton," said the sheep. "Pull in your hair. They coming." "Look, Radiant Wilbur. Lay slow, Charlotte. Take it up, please." The truck paced slowly to the big pen and stopped. Mr. Averill cut the motor, got out, walked around to the rear, and lowered the tailgate. The geese cheered. Mrs. Averill got out of the truck. Fern and Avery jumped to the ground. Mrs. Tuckerman came walking down to the house. Everybody lined up at the fence and stood for a moment admiring Wilbur and the beautiful green crate. Nobody realized that the crate had already contained a rat and a spider. "That's our pig," said Mr. Averill. "He's terrific," said Lurvy. "He's very radiant," said Fern, remembering the day he was born. "Well," said Mrs. Tuckerman, "he's clean anyway. The buttermilk could certainly help." Mr. Averill studied Wilbur carefully. "Yes, he's a wonderful pig," he said. "It's hard to believe that he was the runt of the litter. You'll get some extra good ham and bacon, Homer, when it comes to kill that pig." Wilbur heard these words and his heart almost stopped. "I think I'm going to faint," he whispered to the old ship who was watching. "Kneel down," whispered the old ship. "Let the blood lash to your head." There Wilbur sank to his knees, and all radiance gone. His eyes closed. "Look!" screamed Fair. "He's fading away!" "Hey, watch me!" yelled Avery, crawling all four into the crate. I'm a pig! Avery's foot touched Templeton onto the straw. "What a mess!" said the rat. "What fantastic creatures boys are! Why did I let myself in for this?" The geese saw Avery in the crate and cheered. "Avery, you get out of the crate this instant!" commanded his mother. "What do you think you are?" "I'm a pig!" cried Avery, tossing handfuls of straw into the air. "Oink, oink, oink!" "The truck is rolling away, Papa," said Fan. The truck with no one at the wheel had started to roll downhill. Mr. Averill dashed to the driver's seat and pulled out the emergency brake. The truck stopped. The geese cheered. Charlotte crouched and made herself as small as possible in a knot hole, so Avery wouldn't see her. "Come out at once!" cried Mr. Averill. Avery crawled out of the crate on hands and knees, making faces at Wilbur. Wilbur fainted away. "The pig is passed out," said Mrs. Tuckerman. "Throw water on him. Throw buttermilk," suggested Avery. The geese cheered. Levy ran for a pail of water. Fern climbed into the pig pen and knelt by Wilbur's side. "It's sunstroke," said Tuckerman. "The heat is too much for him." "Maybe he's dead," said Avery. "Come out of the pig pen immediately," cried Mrs. Averill. Avery obeyed his mother and climbed into the back of the truck so he could see better. Levy returned with cold water and dashed it on Wilbur. "Throw some on me," cried Avery. "I'm hot too." Oh, keep quiet, Heller and Farah. Keep quiet. Her eyes were brimming with tears. Wilbur, feeling the cold water, came to. He rose slowly to his feet while the geese cheered. "He's up," said Mr. Arable. "I guess there's nothing wrong with him." "I'm hungry," said Avery. "I want a candied apple." "Wilbur's all right now," said Fan. "We can start. I want to take a ride in the Ferris wheel." Mr. Zuckerman and Mr. Arable and Lurvy grabbed the pig and pushed him head first towards the crate. Wilbur began to struggle. The harder the man pushed, the harder he held back. Avery jumped down and joined the man. Wilbur kicked and thrashed and grunted. "Nothing wrong with this pig," said Mr. Zuckerman, tearfully bracing his knee against Wilbur behind. "All together now, boys, show!" With final heave, they jumped him into the crate. The geese cheered. Levy nailed some boards across the end so Wilbur couldn't back out. Using all their strength, the man picked up the crate and heaved it aboard the truck. They did not know that under the straw was a rat, and inside an outhole was a big gray spider. They saw only a pig. "Everybody in!" called Mr. Arable. He started the motor. The ladies climbed in beside him. Mr. Zuckerman and Levy and Fan and Avery rode in back, hanging on to the sideboards. The truck began to move ahead. The geese cheered. The children answered the cheer, and away went everybody to the fair.